There comes a time in life when words lose their meaning, when explanations become futile, and when your silence becomes the loudest message you will ever deliver. I know because I have lived it. Have you ever noticed that the people who hurt you the most are the ones who crave your reaction? They provoke you, manipulate you, and try to control your emotions just to satisfy their ego. They thrive on your frustration, your tears, your anger. But what happens when you stop giving them that power? What happens when you don't fight, you don't argue, you don't even acknowledge their existence? Let me tell you something. Your silence is not just a reaction, it is a revolution that destroys their ego, breaks their control, and sets you free. If you've ever felt trapped in the cycle of proving yourself, defending yourself, or explaining yourself to people who don't deserve it, then this speech is for you. Stay with me till the end, because today you will learn the art of silence and how it can become your greatest weapon. Silence is often misunderstood. Many see it as a sign of weakness, a lack of confidence, or even an inability to respond. But in reality, silence is one of the most powerful tools a person can possess. It is a statement in itself, a response that carries more weight than words ever could. When someone expects a reaction, whether it be anger, frustration, or justification, and is met with silence, it unsettles them. It forces them to question their own actions and motivations. This is where the true power of silence lies. When dealing with negativity, criticism, or toxic individuals, the natural instinct is to defend oneself. We feel the urge to explain, argue, or retaliate because we believe that our voice is the only way to prove our worth. But here's the truth. The moment you engage, you give them power. You give them exactly what they seek: your energy, your emotions, your peace. Your reaction feeds their ego. It reassures them that they have control over your feelings. They push you, hoping to get a rise out of you because your reaction validates their influence over you. But what happens when you don't react? What happens when you remain still, unshaken, refusing to participate in their games? Silence becomes your shield. It becomes the one thing they cannot manipulate. They crave attention, and when you deny them that satisfaction, it disrupts them. It forces them to sit with their own words and actions, and more often than not, people who thrive on conflict are uncomfortable with introspection. They do not know how to handle silence because it leaves them alone with their own insecurities. Silence does not mean surrender. It does not mean you are allowing someone to walk over you. It simply means you have chosen your battles wisely. Not every insult deserves a response. Not every fight is worth your energy. When you choose silence, you are choosing yourself. You are choosing your peace, your dignity, and your mental well-being. There are moments in life when words cannot change the situation. No matter how much you explain, justify, or argue, some people will only hear what they want to hear. They will twist your words, manipulate your emotions, and continue to fuel the fire. But when you refuse to engage, when you withdraw from the battlefield completely, they lose. Their ego, which feeds on your reaction, begins to crumble. This is why silence is powerful. It is not about weakness. It is about control. The control to decide where your energy goes. The control to choose peace over unnecessary chaos. The control to let go without explaining why. It takes strength to remain silent in the face of provocation. It takes wisdom to understand that not every battle needs to be fought. And it takes courage to trust that your silence will say everything that needs to be said. Ego is a fragile thing, yet it demands constant validation. It thrives on attention, feeds on reactions, and grows stronger when it successfully provokes an emotional response. People with inflated egos seek control over others by creating situations that force a reaction. They insult, manipulate, and provoke, not because they are interested in a real conversation, but because they want to confirm their dominance over your emotions. The moment you react, whether with anger, frustration, or even an attempt to explain yourself, you give them exactly what they want. You feed their ego, reinforcing their belief that they hold power over you. This is why silence is such a powerful weapon. When someone expects a response and is met with nothing but calm indifference, they begin to lose control. The ego is dependent on external validation. It needs to feel superior, to know that it has influenced your thoughts and emotions. But when you refuse to react, when you deny it the attention it craves, it starts to wither. The person who thrives on conflict finds themselves in an unfamiliar space, one where their words no longer have an effect, their manipulation no longer works, and their control over you begins to fade. Many people misunderstand the concept of silence in the face of provocation. They assume that silence means submission, that it signifies a lack of courage. But in reality, silence is the ultimate form of control. It is a conscious decision to disengage from a game designed to trap you. Every time you choose not to react, you shift the power dynamic. You take control of the situation without saying a word. The other person is left confused, frustrated, and desperate for the response they expected but never received. The human ego cannot stand irrelevance. It cannot handle being ignored. When someone attacks you with words or actions and you refuse to engage, they are forced to confront the emptiness of their own behavior. They no longer have the satisfaction of seeing you hurt, angry, or defensive. Instead, they are left questioning themselves. They start to wonder why their usual tactics aren't working. And in that moment, their ego begins to crack. The most powerful thing about silence is that it speaks volumes. It sends a message that you are unbothered, that their words hold no weight, that their actions do not deserve your energy. It tells them that they are insignificant in your world, and nothing destroys an ego faster than realizing it no longer has influence. This is why silence is not just an absence of words, it is a strategic move. It is a declaration that you will not be controlled, manipulated, or reduced to someone else's emotional game. And once you master the art of silence, you become untouchable. True strength is not found in loud arguments, heated debates, or constant explanations. It is found in the ability to remain calm when everything around you is designed to provoke a reaction. When faced with negativity, most people feel an immediate urge to defend themselves, to prove their point, or to make the other person understand their perspective. But this reaction often does more harm than good. It shifts the power dynamic, placing control in the hands of the person who triggered you. When you respond emotionally, you allow them to dictate your actions. They succeed in pulling you into their chaos, making you part of a battle that was never yours to fight. Silence, on the other hand, is the ultimate display of self-control. It is the act of choosing peace over conflict, clarity over confusion, and dignity over desperation. It is a sign that you are secure enough in yourself to not be affected by the words or actions of others. It shows that your strength comes from within, not from the need to prove yourself to those who do not matter. When you remain silent in the face of provocation, you send a powerful message. I am not controlled by your words. I am not affected by your negativity. I refuse to be a part of your game. People who rely on ego-driven conflicts do not expect silence. They expect an argument, a debate, or at least some form of resistance. When they do not receive it, they are thrown off balance. They begin to doubt their own power, questioning whether they have any control over you at all. And this doubt weakens them. The moment you stop reacting, you take back your power. You shift the situation from one where they control your emotions to one where they are left with nothing but their own negativity. Silence is not about ignoring reality or avoiding confrontation when necessary. It is about understanding that not every battle is worth fighting. There are moments when words will not change anything, no matter how well articulated they are. There are people who will twist your words, manipulate your emotions, and continue their toxic patterns regardless of what you say. In these situations, silence becomes the most powerful response. It is a choice to disengage, to step back, and to prioritize your own mental and emotional well being over meaningless conflict. When you choose silence, you create space for clarity. You allow yourself to observe the situation without being clouded by emotion. You gain the ability to make decisions based on wisdom rather than impulse. And most importantly, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of proving, explaining, and defending. Silence does not mean you do not care. It means you care too much about your peace to let external forces disrupt it. The strongest people are not the ones who shout the loudest, but the ones who remain composed even in the face of chaos. Walking away is not about running from problems, it is about understanding which problems deserve your time and which ones do not. There are battles worth fighting, and there are battles designed only to trap you in a cycle of endless frustration. Recognizing the difference between the two is what separates strong individuals from those who constantly find themselves exhausted by meaningless conflicts. The ability to step away from negativity is a skill that few people master because it requires a deep sense of self-worth. You must know your value to understand that not everyone deserves a response from you. When you walk away, you are not just leaving behind a person or a situation, you are stepping into a new level of self respect. You are proving to yourself that your peace is more important than someone else's need for validation. And in doing so, you take back control of your life. The person who walks away with dignity is always stronger than the one who stays and fights a meaningless battle. The ego driven person cannot comprehend this kind of power. And that is why your silence, your refusal to engage, and your ability to walk away will always be their greatest defeat. When someone hurts you, their goal is often to bring you down to their level. They want you to feel as small as they do. They want you to react so they can justify their behavior. But when you refuse to give them that satisfaction, you reclaim your power. Silence is not just a lack of words. It is a conscious decision to invest in yourself instead of wasting energy on those who do not deserve it. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you are choosing self-growth over self-destruction. Growth happens in the space where reaction ends and reflection begins. When you stop giving attention to those who try to belittle you, you create room for something better. Self-improvement. You start focusing on your goals, your peace, and your future instead of being stuck in someone else's negativity. The energy you once spent on proving yourself to others is now spent on building yourself. And in that process, you become stronger, wiser, and untouchable. People with fragile egos expect their words to control you. They expect you to hold on to the pain they caused. But the most powerful thing you can do is rise above it, to take the very thing meant to destroy you and turn it into fuel for your success. They want you to be bitter, but instead you become better. They want you to be consumed by anger, but instead you become focused. They want to see you stuck in the past, but instead you move forward without looking back. The greatest revenge is not proving them wrong with words, but proving them irrelevant through your silence and growth. Imagine a life where the people who once hurt you no longer hold space in your mind, where their words no longer affect your emotions, where their actions no longer dictate your mood. That is the power of transformation. The moment you stop reacting and start investing in yourself, you break the cycle. You take control of your life not by fighting meaningless battles, but by walking away and focusing on becoming the best version of yourself. Silence is not just the absence of words, it is the presence of power. It is a conscious choice, a weapon that dismantles the ego of those who seek to control, manipulate, and diminish you. Throughout life, you will encounter individuals who thrive on conflict, who feed off your reactions, and who believe that their words hold the power to define you. But the truth is, their power exists only as long as you give them a response. The moment you choose silence over reaction, you strip them of their influence. leaving them with nothing but the weight of their own insecurities. Your silence is not a sign of weakness, it is a reflection of your strength. It shows that you are not bound by the need for validation, nor are you controlled by the opinions of those who never truly understood your worth. When you refuse to engage in meaningless battles, when you choose to walk away instead of proving yourself, you break the cycle of toxicity. You create a space where negativity can no longer reach you, where ego driven individuals are left questioning their own significance. And in that space, you grow. Growth is not found in arguments, in retaliation, or in the need to prove who you are to people who will never see your value. Growth is found in the silence that follows disappointment, in the stillness that replaces anger, and in the peace that comes from knowing that you do not have to fight every battle. It is in that silence where transformation happens. You stop looking for closure in places where it will never come, and instead you create your own. You realize that walking away is not just about leaving a toxic situation, it is about stepping into a new version of yourself, one that is unshaken, unapologetic, and free. There is power in silence, but even greater power in what you choose to do with it. When you stop feeding the egos of those who seek to control you, you redirect that energy toward your own growth. You take the pain they inflicted and turn it into strength. You take the doubt they planted and turn it into confidence. You take the negativity they projected and use it as fuel to rise higher than they ever expected. And in doing so, you prove that your silence was never about submission, it was about elevation. One day, the very people who tried to break you will look for you in the places they left you, only to realize you are no longer there. You have outgrown the need for their approval. You have moved beyond their reach. Their ego, once fed by your reactions, has withered in your absence. And that is when they will understand the true power of silence, not as a weakness, but as a force capable of destroying everything they once relied on to keep you beneath them. Your silence is your strength, your growth is your victory, and your ability to walk away unbothered is the greatest response you will ever give.